Well, Chevy, I knew right away what I wanted to do early on in my life. I realized I couldn't jump but 2 inches off the ground. So being a pro athlete and following in the footsteps of Michael Jordan wasn't going to happen. But how could I follow and be involved in the world of sports? Well, naturally, as we were coming along, I was a child of the late 80s and grew up in the 90s. So I was able to watch so many great sportscasters throughout the course here in Chicago, whether it be a Tim Weigel, whether it be a Jim Rhodes or Mark Jean Greco, watching the Bulls on NBC, which happened to be the primetime home for NBA basketball, Marv Albert, also listening on the radio to Wayne Larrivee, Pat Foley, Neil Funk, we can go on. And I knew really early on that they are the voices of these special moments. I was a big fight fan as well. Growing up and watching, my father was always watching big time fights. It was a big family gathering to watch Julio Cesar Chavez fights and also watch Mike Tyson. We had HBO, Showtime, and I was really so transfixed to the world of combat sports. When the UFC came about in 1993, it immediately grabbed my attention. I also was involved and loved watching pro wrestling back in the 80s and 90s as well. So I loved a lot of different sports, but to be able to be a sportscaster and to be the voice of those moments is so special, because even though I couldn't be involved in sports in general, how could I, or as an athlete, how could I be involved? Well, being a broadcaster, being able to call those moments, being able to educate the general population as to what is going on and be the voice of those amazing games is what caught my attention right away. What's great is that there's a statement that says iron sharpens iron. And that's so true. And with my schedule, as I work with ESPN radio, mostly during the evenings on Chicago's Game Night with Jonathan Hood, and also during the weekends, and I do ring announcing on the weekends as well when fights come about all over the country, et cetera, et cetera. But there's an opening that I have during the mornings. So I know Jonathan Hood teaches here, Chris Black and Abdallah. Several members of the ESPN Chicago staff teach at the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. So I was able to find out, and I thought about teaching, but in my opinion, they've been working here for quite a while. I didn't think I was in the position to teach, because it's like, what can I offer? But then as I progressing throughout the course of my career, I have fun talking about the business. See, this is not just you come into work 9 to 5 and then you go home. This is a passion. This is a lifestyle. It doesn't necessarily make up who you are, but it becomes a part of your life. And those around you that want to be a part of that will be around your area. And this is the greatest job in the world. What I do, ring announcing and doing a sports anchor for ESPN 1000 in Chicago, I have the greatest job in the world. But I went to school for that. And to be able to, with the producers and the directors that I've been able to work with, the staff at ESPN Chicago, the fact that I've been able, fortunate, where's wood at around here, and knock on wood for me as you're thinking in your mind, to work with Cat Williams, who is an amazing comedic genius, to be able to be directed by Spike Lee on that Cat Williams special, the things that I learned listening to them, being able to work with Jim Zaroli, who's one of the producers for Friday Night Fights, being able to work with Mike Mascaro, being able to work with producers from Fox Sports 1 when we do Golden Boy Boxing, being able to work with top matchmakers, top promoters, top producers all over the combat sports landscape. I've learned so much from all of them. And to be able to come in here, and Kim Locatoro, who's one of the education, I believe the education director, if I stand to be corrected here, along with Don Nebraska, who's here, and the entire staff, Pete Ferrari as well, I was asked to come and speak here at the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. And they asked, would you be interested in maybe doing some teaching every now and then as a substitute? So I thought about it, and yeah, coming in and being a substitute teacher, fine. And then they gave me a class. And I just had one of my classes completed, and when I had my first class end, I gravitated towards all the students, because there's so much talent that comes in and out of here in the Illinois Center for Broadcasting, not only from a student standpoint, but from an administrative standpoint, whether it be our director, whether it be the teacher's assistants. I'll be honest with you, even as a teacher, to be able to work with some outstanding teacher's assistants, I go up and down the line. And I will take those teachers' assistants anywhere, no matter what university it be, because there's some extremely talented teachers' assistants here. And you heard me say correctly, they're assistants. They're not teachers, but they help us out. And to be able to have the staff here, Jonathan Hood is a teacher here, to be able to work and teach, and I wouldn't say teach, but I assist them in their learning. The curriculum is there, we help to implement it, but I learn a lot from all these students. It's sad for me to see classes graduate. I'm happy for them, but it truly is like there is a void that is here at the Illinois Center for Broadcasting when like an August days graduates, when an April days graduates, and they move on. And it's great that they're, partaking in their career, but it's a new group that needs to step up and kind of follow that path and take the baton and carry this school to that next level, because the bar continues to be raised time and time again. And there's so much talent in and out of here. And as a teacher, to be able to say down the line, one of my students, or here's a student of mine on a top radio station in Chicago, whether it be top 40. Here's another student that is working on a nationwide television show in New York. Here's another student that happens to be a top web designer in somewhere around the country. That gives me a lot of honor and pride. And I'm not one to be egotistical, but I can brag about them, and I'm proud to brag about the students that come here, because they are so talented, they have a passion, they have a desire, and they amp me up every single day I go in the studio. You have to take a risk. So when you want to jump into the world of broadcasting, the first thing you have to do is take a risk. When that red light goes on, whether it be television, whether it be radio, if you're a web designer, it doesn't matter. You are taking a risk because you're performing. There is nothing like having the pressure on you, and you have to be able to get out of your comfort zone, everyday life, and handle that pressure. Every time you get on the microphone, every time you're a producer, a director, a stagehand, it doesn't matter, or a grip to be corrected, and I know Curtis would be upset at me. It is a grip is what I'm calling it. That's the proper term. You have to be able to handle that pressure. Don't allow it to encompass you, but it makes you better. It's like a prize fighter. A prize fighter, like a Floyd Mayweather, like a Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson told me on an interview with ESPN Chicago that every time he walked to the ring, he was terrified. He was scared. But when he stepped inside the ring, that fear subsided. But he was scared walking to the ring because he knew the other man wanted to knock his head off. But he was able to channel that energy and keep that fear in check. He was still scared, but it made him better. So take a risk and have passion for this business. And know that just because you don't get that job now doesn't mean it won't happen down the line. It's what I like to call the 3 Ps. Passion, patience, and persistence. Your time will come as long as you are putting forth all the necessary energy and the resources and being persistent. Passion, patience, persistence.